This week in comic books, we get a new buddy cop team. Yay, and you'll get to read more about it in March because Future State. Yeah. Over in the land of Marvel and Immortal Hulk, Thing gives us the true meaning of the story of Job, gives us a quick narration of it and the meaning of it, of what it means to him. And Bubba was it on point. It was good. And over in Independence, Muy Perfecto Americana. It was actually a good read, even though I was scared. So grab your coffee, kiddies. Take an awkward sip. And roll that intro. What's going on, you wonderful weirdos? I'm Pocan Joe, and as always, you're pretty cool for swinging by. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever your thing is. We could do an entire show just greeting you for the holidays. Let's say Happy Solstice, maybe? Winter Solstice? I don't know. Whatever your thing is, from the Clan Pocan to all yours, have a good one. How's that sound? Just so we're all even. All right. Let's run down this week's comic books. What did I pick up? What did I think of it? And what kind of covers did we get? Because we actually got some pretty cool covers. So let's jump right into it with DC Detective Comics number 105. So this is confusing because this entire time, like, Ghostmaker's been trying to prove some sort of point, and come to find out, there's no point to be made. Batman was right. Clown Hunter did not kill Harley Quinn. And the girl, Harley Quinn, was able to talk him down and make him see reality. And he dropped his sword and cried. He wept tears, if you will. And then Batman's like, "See, told you, Ghost Killer." And Ghost Killer's like, "Oh, yeah, you got me." It's not exactly what he said, but he might as well have. Like, it was that kind of just awkwardness. But apparently Ghostmaker's going to be hanging around a while. Him and Batman, because Batman's getting old. He said so himself. And, this is a great setup for the whole Future State thing, where they're adding, all the old characters are all down. They just can't do it anymore. So we're going to revamp it, because we won't hear about these two until probably March, according to the back of this book. And I was just like, why would you introduce a new dynamic duo and have all this cool stuff, and then well, wait a second, we kind of got this project we've been thinking about? I'm kind of on the fence for Future State. I think most of it's just going to be at best. What do you think about Future State coming out? Is it just going to be another 52? Is it just going to be another thing where we try to force feed the public a bunch of heroes we just can't relate to? I don't know. What do you think? That's the most important thing. Moving on. We picked up Rorschach number 3. I thought this was a cool cover. Really kind of the whole Rorschach thing. Not really about Rorschach in here. We get the origin story of Laura, the young lady who tried to kill the president. And we find out that she's from kind of a jacked up family. I'm saying that professionally. Mentally jacked up. Paranoid family. This kind of takes place shortly after the squid, right, attacked the Earth and the Watchmen and that whole thing. Kind of takes place shortly after that. Apparently, some people that live out in the country, apparently they felt they need to build a militia in case this ever happens again, because the new president's weak, blah, 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 right? Boom. So they build a militia, and they start training her at age 8. Right, to start shooting and gunning down and choking out full-grown adults and the whole 9 yards, right? And she's buying into this. She buys into it. And then we find out that Dad actually killed Mom because the squids took over her brain. And then he read a comic book and couldn't decide which side was good and which side was bad. So he decided that the squids took over his brain, and asked his daughter to shoot him because he couldn't do it. And I was like, ooh, that's a little deep. And then the scariest thing happened. She did it, and she was okay with it. And I was like, oh, okay, this person's kind of, professionally speaking, jacked up. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, I think I just want to read more of this just to see how deep they'll take something like that. That is, ooh, it was cringy. It was almost as awkward as a sip of coffee in the middle of a YouTube show. Hmm. Awkward. Okay, moving on. Justice League. So we're getting into this whole endless winter thing, and I'm really digging this story. It's pretty cool. We finally figure out what the connection is between the Frost King and Black Adam, and what it is Black Adam's a douchebag that set up the Frost King's family as bait. And then when the Frost King was about to, show some heart, his heart was going to grow 3, 4, 5 sizes. Black Adam like whooshed in and punched him in the chest, and apparently handed it to him. Douchebag move. But, justifying the means versus the ends, that I guess that argument can be made in here. So we find out that the organization, the scientific organization, STAG, actually has the Frost King's family frozen. That was what they got from the Arctic Circle when they were up there digging around. And apparently he's not too happy about this. So, justifiable anger, maybe? Maybe? I think this is going to be one of those case scenarios where nobody's really bad, nobody's really good. There's just conflict, and we got to figure something out. I don't know. Let's find out, because apparently Black Adam's about to get back into the mix again, and I don't think that's a good idea right now. But we'll find out. All right, moving on. Oh, this was actually good. Okay, so Dark Knight, Dark Metal. So there's a lot of tie-ins to this. I know. I've been collecting all the band covers, and that was great. I didn't even know this one was coming out, but something about the evil Robin playing a violin just never went down to Georgia. It's all I could think of. I think it's even kind of golden, maybe? Not really. We'll just say it is. So this is interesting. The big battle's about to happen, and it's about to hit the fan, and the heroes are winning, and sacrifices are happening, and we get a big, long lecture about hope in the abyss of the forge so it can grow and what it is. And it is great. And through the whole thing, we get a religious undertone of Sergeant Rock explaining to us in a narrative the different prayer, what prayer is, and prayer in the battlefield, and what people pray for as it goes through, as we're dealing with this cosmic event of the one who laughs and Perpetual still fighting in space. Like, they're still going at it, throwing planets at each other, beating each other up. And then all of a sudden, it's like all the heroes thought they won, and then, no, it's actually, while you guys have been battling those, I built a bigger, badder army, and here they come. And then here comes Wonder Woman, rising up from the ashes, as if she was Jesus herself. She was bringing hope, and hope to battle. Weird, right? A little weird, especially the way I say it. I'll give you that. But it was still good for the main part. The main story, I've come to realize, hasn't really disappointed that much. Some of the tie-ins, like most tie-ins, just give me the main story. All right. Now, that was all DCs I picked up. We're going to roll right into Marvel. So I liked this issue of Immortal Hulk. This was really good. Without getting too preachy, if you don't know, the Thing is Jewish. He was bar mitzvah, the whole 9 yards. I like the way they played the justification for his bar mitzvah. Since it was 13 years since he turned into the Thing, the rabbi kind of allowed him to have a bar mitzvah. So, he read from the book. And you probably have seen a bar mitzvah where they start reading in Hebrew and you're like, what are those cats saying? Well, in most cases, and I say most because I can't speak for all of them, they're actually reading you the story of Job in there and how he was tested and all that. And Thing kind of explains this to Immortal Hulk, but it's not really Immortal Hulk. It's Joe Fixit, right? Mr. Fixit. In the beginning of this story, because I jumped way ahead of myself, Thing is like, oh, you're here. The Hulk's here. Because it was like the baby Hulk thing that's going on right now. I don't know how I feel about it. We'll talk about that in the next one. But he's fighting him, and baby Hulk's like, no, smash. Blah, blah. He's acting like a child, throwing a temper tantrum. But he's not as strong as Thing, so Thing's whipping up basically on a child. When he comes to realize this, accidentally punching Joe Fixit, he's like, oh man, maybe I jumped the gun a little bit. Oh, lessons learned. And we kind of get what the story of Job means to him and how it kind of fit into this situation and how he felt he needed to help Joe Fixit at this point, by feeding him, giving him clothing, which are real things in certain faiths that you should do. Just gonna throw that out there. But yeah, So that was really good. And then Joe Fixit scampers off, right? Not a whole lot of Kingdom Black stuff in here because that rolls in later. But nevertheless, some action in the beginning of this, but of course a misunderstanding that normally happens. Great moral lesson in here that I think anybody can ever learn. Good stuff. Moving on. Now, I'm not one for tie-ins. As you know, we've already been talking about that. However, when you put a Scotty Young cover on it, and my wife collects these, of course I got to get it. And the rule is, if I buy a comic book, I read a comic book, right? So I read this. I dropped this series a while back, and I'm still trying to remember why. I even went back to my videos, and I was really enjoying this, but for some reason it fell off of my list. But get back into it. Black Cat's going to steal from thieves. Teaches us a term that's used in Australia, which I really like. It's called a toe cutter. It's a person who steals from thieves, basically. So they're still a thief. And that's what she's doing in here. But all that gets interrupted because a symbiote dragon crashes through the escape tunnel. And she wants to know who stopped her from getting her money. And then finds out it's Null. And even she kind of backs up a little bit as she watches Captain America, Doctor Strange, and a bunch of other people get wrapped up in this. So she makes an escape, gets her team together, and they're going to go give him a black eye. I think that's what she says in it. Black eye or bloody nose for keeping her from her treasures. As campy as that is, it was actually pretty good, and I did enjoy this. Pick of the week, not so much, but still good. Symbiote SpiderMan. This was interesting. Take some notes on this one. By the way, I'm reading these in order to the way you should read them because I actually looked at the back. So it would have been this event, and this is all kind of catching you up to the story. To the main event, I should say. Good enough. All right. Symbiote Spider-Man. All right, so we get Black Knight in here, and we find out that at Ebony Mall, if you don't know what Ebony Mall is or the Ebony Blade, I should say, the Ebony Blade. If you don't know what that is, it's basically Black Knight's sword, hence the name Ebony. Anyway, he's got that in here, and apparently somebody else wants it. Apparently, dun dun dun, it seems to going to play a big part in this because apparently it can really hurt Null. So that may be something to keep our eyes open for here, and however this is going to flow through. And that's about the major thing that happened in here. I mean, there's still some symbiotes that don't understand why Symbiote Spider-Man, like why he isn't a brother, why he isn't a family, that kind of thing. So there's some confusion there. But for the most part, I think the mainline story in here is going to be the Black Knight. And that's kind of cool. I like the Black Knight. I think he's an interesting character. And I really like that sword. So I definitely want to see how that plays into all of this. So good stuff there. And the artwork in here. Mwah! Okay, and then Immortal Hulk. No words in this. The pictures tell the story. And this is just a Merry Christmas type story. Nothing really strong or tied in here. Basically, we get that same baby Hulk that escaped from Thing. You know, he's out there running around, sees a package on the ground. Some symbiotes from Null try to attack him. He puts them buddies to waste. Cops show up. They don't understand what's going on, so they're just going to open fire on Hulk. Who doesn't know that the Hulk is bulletproof at this point in Marvel lore? Anyway, apparently the symbiotes take over the cops. Joe Fixit figures out a strategy. Again, none of this is in words. You're just picking this up as you watch the pictures through, which was actually kind of cool. I thought the artwork was a little off. And again, I do my best not to judge, but they really wanted you to understand, because they're not using words, that we're dealing with the baby Hulk in this, so there are a lot of childish features to them. So I guess it's understood. Joe Fixit, of course, outsmarts these symbiotes and finds out that, or thanks to himself, hey, baby Hulk here is not really going to be getting a Christmas. So I'm going to let him take over while we're over in the toy section of this particular mall. And you see him in there playing and everything. All in all, it's a good story. I didn't mind it. The cover's a little misleading, right? But that's why they do that. But for the most part, it's a cool little story. That's about it. All right, moving on. Taskmaster, number 2. So Taskmaster has to watch Phil Coulson very, very closely. So where does he run into him at? A comic book store. Phil Coulson, comic book lover extraordinaire. Well, not really. he goes into the comic book store to see how his Squadron Supreme comic book is selling. Why do I get the feeling that a lot of writers are that way for comic books these days? Like, the only time you'll see them in there is when they got something on the shelf to see how it's selling. Why these cats don't read comic books? But anyway, the artwork was super cool in here. Really enjoyed that. And the story's not that bad. Like, for the most part, it's okay. We get Hyperion. If you don't know who he is, he's Superman. Yep. And there's even a little tiny rock that gives off radiation that can take away his powers. Because they did that in here. They put it on an arrow and it... Psh. Yep. Taskmaster, being the strategist he is, he decides to get it handed to him by Hyperion through this whole thing. And then at the very last minute, because he wanted him to underestimate him, shoots him with a little magical green rock. It's even green. They didn't even change the color. Shoots him in the back. So he can learn the kinetic movements of Phil Coulson. Went through a lot of damage. And apparently he's got to do this twice before the Black Widow catches up with him, because somebody they all knew died and they're blaming it on Taskmaster. This is a very passive book. This will get dropped at any given moment. It's not that great of a story. It is what it is. Alright, moving on. So, something really weird happened. I go into my comic book store, and he goes, "Hey, you want this book?" And I looked, and I was like, "No, I don't really do a whole lot of collecting of 90s books." And he goes, "No, it's a new book." And I was like, "Bubba, it says 17 on it." And I was like, "No." And he goes, "No, no, no." And he kind of tells me the story. You're probably up to date with this. But Otley and Kirkman kind of threw this book together really quick. Apparently it takes place in an alternate universe for a comic book story already. So I was like, oh, man, it's the holidays. Yeah, I'll go ahead and buy it. So I sit down and I read it. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing makes absolutely no sense to me. But I really like it. It reminded me of the way kids play with random toys. There's the best way to think of it. I literally just thought of that. So picture, if you will, when you were a kid and you had a toy chest or toy box, whatever you call it, and you pulled out like a He-Man, a Transformer, a G.I. Joe, and like random toys, right? Random different characters. And now your imagination has to take over some connectivity between these and why these characters work together and why these characters don't work together, and you tell a story, right? Childish, but nevertheless the most random story of all time, but you had fun doing it, and it was just great. That's what this was. I didn't see anything really connective between the superheroes in this. We got a little girl who can apparently control blood burgers, snot, blood snot. Yeah, we got a guy with robotic legs, two of them, because apparently one of them's evil twin scenario. Okay, cool, I'm on board. We get some dude with razors on his arms that flies around, hangs out with a female robot, and they're trying to figure out which one's more savage. And she's a robot, so there's no feelings. So she just drops them bodies, whereas he goes around dropping bodies with thought. And then we get a lady with a sword, like just a magical sword that just flies through the most crazy looking villain of all time. There was just so much randomness because I again don't know anything about this particular universe or these heroes. But again, usually, like, you could tell the X-Men in a story or something. There was none of that in here. And it was really good. It was fun. It reminded me of the way a kid plays with just random toys and makes a story happen. And it was done right in here. So, yeah, this was good. Moving on. Post Americana. So, okay, right? I saw the cover, read the snapshot of this, and I was like, this is one of those weird books where it's, everybody's kind of like me because I'm super strong and everything's great about me and I'm going to show everybody how the world runs. It wasn't that at all. It was actually good. I'm glad I picked this up and read it because it kind of reminds me of one of my favorite movies and probably an accurate documentary of where our society's going, Idiocracy. I'm going to let that pause for a second while you look that up. Now tell me how wrong I am. Right? It's like a cross between Idiocracy and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, right? There's cannibals in here. There's people that have been hiding away in a mountain. Crazy guy that just made himself president, wants to take over the world. people that are against them, and then we got like just the weirdest society where everything is. They even talk weird in here, like capiche. They throw the word capiche. It's like they're just throwing out random words to like confirm or deny things. Like they're trying to talk in slang. It's just coming off weird. Now, some people could say, "Oh, the writer doesn't know how to write dialogue." I argue he does because it's so connective in here. It's beautifully done, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Pick it up, pick it up. If nothing else, it will make you laugh because there's some funny stuff in here. Last but not least, we picked up Once and Future. So the Green Knight shows up, and I talked about this in my last haul video from when Once and Future came out. I thought they would do more with the Green Knight because it's a piece of literature or from literary history that has very uniqueness to it, and they just kind of made it this random thing where it was like, who wants to play the game? And the girl's like, I'll play the game. I get to strike first, and in 1 year's time, you get to strike, which is kind of the whole game that he plays in literary history. I know. But still, she shouldn't have figured it out that easy. Especially something as vague reference as the Green Knight. But she did. So be it. And who is she? Duncan's girlfriend. Right? They're dating now. Where this got really creepy, and where I think most people would like it, is the talk that Granny has with a white supremacist English dude. And basically tells him, yeah, if there's a hell, you're probably going to it. Do you want to have a smoke? And he's like, no, I don't smoke. And she's like, yeah, right. It's bad for you. And the guy's guts and bowels are like, he's dying. Like, he's going to die any minute now. And she kind of soothes him into this quiet death, if you will, but being very realistic and forward with him to get information from it. It was great, especially coming from an old woman. Like, you could just play that in your head. It got creepy, and it got creepy quick, and I loved it. Like, it was awkward. It was so awkward. Not as awkward as a sip of coffee. So we know we have more trouble coming on here because we threw the pins onto the map to find out where the next trouble is, and like all of England's got like needles in it now. So lots of stuff to come here. Hopefully the big battle's going to come soon. I'm enjoying this. But again, this is one of those books I'm kind of in and out of. Like the next issue, I'll go ahead and predict it for you, will be very slow, a lot of narrative and a lot of catch up into the other side of the story where the other world is. And it will be boring. And then they'll do something really great at the end and I'll have to buy it. So there's that. All right, guys, that's my haul and my review this week. What did you think of it? What did you pick up? And more importantly, what did you think of it? Please let me know. I'm very good at replying to comments down below. I actually enjoy the conversations that we have down there. So please. Also, keep on the lookout because my latest build, the Keyblade build, the promo is going to be hitting probably shortly after this video right here. So if you got 2 seconds, take a look for that. That should be pretty interesting. I wanted to have some fun with the promo video project. We've hit a snag, but I think I can still complete it in time. If you don't know, I challenged myself to complete a project in 30 days. This one is a Keyblade with a twist. So we'll see where that goes. Other than that, guys, happy holidays. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay away from one another because, people, germs. Bye.